Okay, so I'm just gonna click on the video now for everyone who is joining. So far, we've got a few, but oh, let me just. So Dan, yeah, exactly. 3 minutes of you scoring tries.
I'm sorry. Put people through the pain.
You put a couple of his tackles at the end, Hannah, didn't you?
Yeah.
Thanks, Frazer.
Oh,
No,
no.
no comment, no comment. Plead the fifth.
Got to keep you humble.
You get chip and chase. Oh, not that one.
Yeah, it is nice. It is nice looking back on some of them. Yeah, they all come with some good memories.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've lost as many games as we've won, kind of thing. So some of these, regardless who scores the try. You know,
This one must have been cool to watch, like the replay, to have someone, you know, see how fast you really are.
Yeah, it was nice. I think I got a bit lucky against it, like, but no, I was good. I literally just ran, same as everything, just run as fast as you can, kind of thing, and yeah, it worked out. So yeah, it was quite.
And waiting for the clock to tick over there.
What's your try ratio against Carlin Isles, Dan?
I don't know. I think it's quite close to be fair. I don't know, Frazer. I'm sure you've got the answer.
I actually don't know.
I'm going to sit on the fence.
Okay.
It's easier that way.
The signature, your hand movement.
Is it fair
Those
to
of you
say
joining-
you put a chase when you're running out of steam, Dan?
Well, no, it's just working out where the space is. So if they want to go 7 players in the front line, that's where the space is. Simple.
Nice.
Easy.
So this was a London Sevens, I think?
The chip and chase one?
No, well, this one, but
This one now.
Oh, this was in Cape Town.
yes.
This was, I think it was quarterfinals against Fiji, like one of the last plays. So that try there got us into the semi-finals. So I was obviously pretty hyped about it, pretty pumped.
Your teammates as well.
Yeah, it's a nice feeling. That's kind of what you play for. That's kind of that feeling there kind of calculates everything. You kind of, all the
So
hard
this
work.
one's a special one. Do you remember this one?
Yeah, of course. Hong Kong. I thought I whacked it way too long, to be honest. But no, it's nice to obviously, Rodder's lifted me up and wouldn't put me back down. But yeah, again, it's nice to be able to share these memories with and these moments with your whole teammates and stuff. So yeah, it's nice.
So for those of you who can't hear the audio, this is the try that made Dan the #1 try scorer of all time, a record that you've held since then. So that must have been quite an amazing try. But
yeah,
now
the try itself wasn't spectacular, but obviously I think, you know, if you're remembering the previous tries to get to this point, like they all add up, and it's just nice to be able to have that moment of getting there. Yeah, it's taken a number of years and a lot of hard work and stuff, and a lot of sacrifices as well.
Yeah. So that was kind of like our welcome to this webinar. Thank you guys so much for all being on. I'm your host, I'm Hannah, and I'm probably completely unqualified to do this, besides the fact that I know a little bit about rugby. But Dan and Frazer are on today, and they really are our experts. And so welcome to our Inner Leadership webinar about how to become an Olympian and how to build your life team. This is not just for people who want to become Olympians, not just for rugby players. It's for kind of all athletes in general and people really looking to maximize their potential. So with that being said, let's go on to the first slide. So yeah, so this is our Inner Leadership, how to become an Olympian. I just see a few more people clicking on now. But yeah, like I said, Dan and Frazer are both really going to be the ones talking here. I'm just here to ask questions. make sure to put all your questions into the Q&A box. And if you're kind of new to Zoom, which I don't think a lot of you will be at this stage, the Q&A box is right at the bottom, and you can ask questions throughout. And if they kind of go with the logical flow, I'll add them in right away. But if not, we'll collate them at the end, and we will answer as many questions as we can at the end. And Dan and Frazer will kind of take turns answering them. So a little bit more about Dan and Frazer. Next slide. Oh, no, I can introduce you. Dan, for those of you who don't know, is an international sevens player. And if the video was not clue enough, he is quite a famous and well-known, not only sevens player, but Olympian, and he has a silver medal. And he is allegedly faster than Usain Bolt over, 40 meters, Dan?
Allegedly.
Allegedly faster than Usain Bolt, but still.
What's that phrase?
Just wondering what source that's come from.
I don't know. I think it's my parents, to be honest.
That's fine then. That's factual.
Yeah, exactly. Always facts.
Biggest fans. And then Frazer, Frazer McAdell, who is an international coach, but also became an entrepreneur. He played for Age for Scotland until he had a career-ending injury, which made him completely change course and became, earned his master's, came to Singapore, became an international level coach, and now has gone back to the UK and become a successful entrepreneur with his own ventures. So that's kind of like two contrasting almost paths, and they actually started together. So it's kind of how the same path diverges and leads you to like something completely different. That being said, you didn't come here today to talk, listen to me talk. You came here to listen to these two experts talk. And so they're going to talk a little bit about their journeys, and then how, Dan became an Olympian, and Frazer is going to talk about how to maximize your potential and really become a top level athlete in any sport. And then we're going to go into the Q&A bit where you guys can ask any of your questions throughout and primarily at the end. So let's get going. Over to you guys.
Awesome.
Right.
Thanks for the
Go on, Frazer.
So yeah, welcome guys, and thanks very much for joining us. So like Hannah said, Dan and I will just talk you guys through our journey from where we started. We obviously both started at a young age with rugby and sport, but I'll let Dan talk a bit more about that. So where Dan and I met was at Hartbury College in Gloucester, which is a sort of a very, probably now a world-renowned rugby college and university. We played together a bit of rugby there. Like Hannah said, I was aspiring on the same dream as Dan, probably not to be an international sevens player, but career-ending injury led me to go onto a different path, of which fortunately I was doing an education at the same time, much to my parents' dream. I would have thought that. Did a degree, did a master's. So when I came to the end of my injury spell, I had something to work on. I then did an internship in strength and conditioning, as well as picking up my coaching badges, and gradually got into coaching at Hartbury College. One thing led to another. An ex-colleague of Dan and I's from Gloucester, a guy called James Forrester, had the same injury and had moved out to Singapore and set up a gym. He invited me out to go and work for him and get involved in some rugby coaching in Singapore, which led to me ending in coaching the Singapore national team. So I just wanted to share these two pictures and what they mean to me and why they're significant to be on the screen. The first one is probably my biggest playing sort of career memory, which was my 21st birthday at Twickenham, playing for Hartbury with Dan. In front of obviously a massive packed out Twickenham in the EDF Cup final, of which I was captain. It was really nice. The principal of Hartbury College at the time invited my parents to go and sit in the royal box with him as well. So that was a fantastic day. We won that cup final quite easy. I think I scored a hat-trick. Dan, is that right?
Yeah, something like that, Frazer. 4 or 5, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then obviously I had the lowest part of my career, which was the season afterwards, where everything was going so well after that final my injury career started for 3 to 4 years, which was a sort of quite a hard few years, which we'll talk about later, and sort of the different things that come with injuries. And then to a complete career change, which is in the other picture, which is where I was head coach of Singapore national team, where a lot of you are based listening to this webinar. That picture was in the changing rooms after us winning Asia Division 2 and getting promoted to Asia Division 1 in Taiwan, where we went across with a team which we had spent 6 to sort of 9 months building, with one task that we were to go across to Taiwan and get promoted. It was a kind of a bit of a do or die for me as a coach, because I was given the job on the parameters that if we won the tournament, I would have the job the following season, and if we didn't win the tournament, I wouldn't have the job. So it was quite a high pressure scenario, and one that was absolutely incredible. And as you can see in the picture, the elation there was fantastic. So going from a player to a coach is my journey that we talked about today. You, Dan?
Nice, Frazer. Yeah, so as Frazer touched on, Ollie's kind of a same for or aspiring young kids started off in the same vein. So obviously my love of sport growing up was massive. I more so enjoyed being outside than it was, you know, being in a classroom. So for me, PE lessons were really loved them. And then growing up in Gloucester, rugby was massive. So kind of there's no bigger sports in Gloucester, the small town in the southwest, than rugby. And we only lived 5 to 10 minutes away from the rugby. So for my dad, imparting rugby in my life was massive. Most weekends we'd cycle down to our local rugby club. So the same as a TRC or something like that in Singapore. We'd cycle to the rugby club. I'd watch, run around with the other kids and stuff, and just mess around and just socialise really. They'd have a sing-song after the game and a few beers. And now I'm getting older, I'm seeing that he rather than him enjoying the rugby, I think he enjoyed the social side and the beers more than that. But yeah, it opened my eyes up to actually the enjoyments of sport and how it can connect people as well. Or went to Hartbury, as Frazer mentioned, and that's when my rugby started picking up. So I wasn't the best, but I enjoyed running around. I thought when I was 16, 18, that's my continue and, you know, exceed all my expectations. I was only going to Hartbury to whittle away time and find another kind of career. So that was really exciting. And then from there, as I said, my rugby career kind of kicked off. I got into the academy. I was playing for Hartbury. And then during that time, I left when I was 20. After playing for England 20s, went to Bristol, and then continued playing sevens. And through that vein, having the support of my father and my family to help me grow. And then I was lucky enough, kind of right place, right time, and was nurtured and grown, help support and grow the environment. And yeah.
I think Dan's just cut out, Frazer.
Yeah, I think he cut out. I think that was actually part of the plan, actually, because we didn't want to listen to him whistle on all day. But no, so is Dan's still out?
Back on. He's back on.
He's back.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back, mate.
Sorry. I think the computer knew I was being boring and shut me down. So it makes sense. I'll open the door on the internet. Am I on still? Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Frazer? Yeah. So my two pictures are similar to Frazer's. So my first one is my career, and just a nice picture, a nice shot of me over the last few years playing for England. Again, being able to play for over the last 10 years has been really enjoyable and powerful for me as a person. It's helped me grow. And obviously it's massive for my family, and you know, being able to see me playing as well and represent my country is massive. And the other picture is me and my dad at the Olympics. So this is post-final. We've just been handed it to by Fiji, lost by 33 points to 7 in the final. But at the same time, my family's there, my dad's there, and then a lot of the other boys' families are there as well. And someone just took a nice shot of us sharing the moment of him actually touching my medal for the first time. And yeah, I think looking back on that picture now, what it represented, so me stood on the podium, it kind of all kind of came back that the journey of me playing rugby at 9 years old was literally amazing to be able to have this final kind of, not sing-song, but this opportunity to actually share this moment together, and having my dad there when I first started and having that there on the pinnacle of my career at that point was incredible and so powerful. And that's just an amazing of us. Yeah, I don't know. It was too sober. Say again, sorry, Frazer.
What did your dad say to you then when you were showing him the Olympic medal and you'd obviously just picked it up on the podium?
What did he say? Sorry.
What did your dad say to you on when you picked up the medal afterwards off the podium?
Yeah, there wasn't many words. I think obviously we both knew how big the achievement it was. Obviously my dad never cries, and he was in tears. So that showed like how powerful it was, and that was just a nice moment. He kind of just said well done and stuff, and obviously I knew like obviously it wasn't just me. It was the 20, 30 years previously and him getting me to that stage as well, and the support of people back home too. So the Olympics isn't just about that one moment there. It's about the people who get you to that position at the same time. So coaches, parents, teammates, everything. And that's kind of a nice thing to be able to share the gravity.
Nice. Awesome.
Fantastic. I actually think this question that just came up on the Q&A section actually links quite well to you, Frazer. How did you keep steady and... Hello?
Yeah, listening.
How did you keep steady and focused through the high pressure of knowing you would keep or lose your coaching job on the outcome of the Taiwan tournament?
To be honest, that is probably a little bit of test to me. If this is your dad that's asked this question, it's very well questioned, but it's probably a bit.
It's actually not. It's from Deborah Thurley.
Oh, okay. So it's people like, I had a very good support team that surrounded me at the time. So I was very fortunate. I was working in UFIT, which was in the Central Business District in Singapore. So I had the likes of your dad. I had the likes of other people that were very high business people at the time who were always in high pressured scenarios. So I went to them and picked their brain a little bit on what it meant. And I think the key point from the majority of them was set up everything that you can, so you're completely prepared for everything, control everything that you can control, and then just go for it 100%. And as long as you're fully committed and you have done everything that you possibly can, down to the smallest detail, the result will happen, hopefully. And if it doesn't, then worry about the result afterwards. So I kind of threw myself at it, that it was a 9-month gig that I would give absolutely everything to. I didn't reinvent the wheel. I did reinvent the wheel. Sorry, I went on like some sort of stuff that Sir Clive Woodward did and some of the other top coaches, even down to us the day before the game, running the bus to the ground to make sure that the bus would get there in time so that we weren't late, going and doing pitch inspections, all this sort of stuff, which, as you know, sometimes in Asia can be a little bit vain because you get to the ground and then there's a weather warning and the game's delayed by 3 hours or whatever because of the thunder and lightning. So I tried to just be as prepared as possible. And then what happened. Fortunately, we won, so I didn't need to worry about it afterwards. So the latter I can't answer, but the preparation was the key for me, and having a good support staff around me. The team of people there were absolutely exceptional, and bar one, I sort of handpicked all of those to be around me to help me. So it was quite an easy job. Well, easy.
That's fantastic. And this one's a little bit of lighter note. Will Skinner asks, Dan, what's more important to an international sevens player, an Olympic gold or a sevens World Cup winners medal?
I'm sorry, my connection is dreadful. At the same time, I'll do my best to try and stay on. I think it's the Olympics. It's a hard one, like a World Series or a World Cup or Commonwealth Games. The biggest one's probably the Olympics, just because it incorporates so many. So if you went down the street and said, do you know rugby or have you watched any rugby? They'd probably say yes or no. But then the power of actually watching the Olympics and how far it reaches is so much bigger. So to say you're an Olympian and say you're a gold medal Olympist, I can't even say it now, is probably the biggest and the pinnacle you can probably get to. So for me, it probably is the Olympic medal.
Fantastic. Okay, so I think we have finished kind of this journey section, and now we're going to get into